Welcome to Emtron Training Part 11. In this training tutorial, we're going to be taking a look at setting up our output programming using our Emtron system. Programming outputs will be varying based on what type of circuit we're trying to control. If we're dealing with a fuel pump that's low side or high side triggered, or if it's going to be a basic on-off switch or pulse width modulated, we need to go and talk about these basic configuration details and understanding how they work and then implementing them within our software. So we're going to go through a whole bunch of different examples here and understanding all of these core concepts and programming fundamentals. Let's jump in so we can check out working with programming our output control. Okay, so let's get started. We're going to be taking a look at programming our outputs from our Emtron. Output control can be used for a variety of different things. Idle control, boost control are one form of output control. So more basic functionality and programming in our outputs would be things like our fuel pump or the cooling fan. So that's what we're focusing on in this video, taking a look at some more of these basic outputs and programming and control. We're going to break down what the various types of output programming we have available to us to control the type of circuit that we're dealing with. So that might be a low side or a high side output control. It also may be a basic on-off or a pulse width modulated type of output control. So it's important we understand these key differences and break those down so that when we're programming again, we know exactly how to program a particular device or circuit so we get the exact results that we're after. First thing I want to cover here is just talking about the output control in terms of how to turn things on or off in the software. We've talked about this briefly in another video earlier in the training course, but let's just revisit this right now because it's going to be found in the same area within the output configuration and programming. If we go here under tuning and we move to configure, jumping here, if we're going from our engine setup, going all the way across here to functions into our function output setup. What we're going to find is we have three distinct areas where we can program our output control to turn something on virtually in the software here to actually program a feature or function. So we have our engine functions, we have our motorsport functions, and timer functions. These three areas here are where we actually turn on and configure a feature to enable within the software. Let me demonstrate this real quick so it makes a bit more sense. We jump here to engine functions. We go down our list here, we see these are the channel names. If we're taking a look at something like knock control, right now knock control is set to the off status. It is not enabled, it's not turned on, and nothing will happen with our knock control. What we can do here is actually move from our config area back into tuning under engine functions, and moving down here we're going to see that knock control is grayed out. Now knock control is grayed out, we can't access it, we can't do any kind of configuration or setup here with it because we have it turned off as a function in our software. What we need to do is jump back into config, jump back into our function output setup, and then actually turn it on here so we can see knock control. Right now it's set to off. We want to toggle this on, go to the knock control window and actually say enable. When we turn it on and enable it, click OK, jumping back into our tuning side of things, jumping back into engine functions drop down tree, we can find that knock control can actually be accessed and programmed and enabled. So this is going to be turning on features or functions. We can see anything that's grayed out right here. That needs to actually be configured and turned on, and it hasn't been enabled yet, so therefore we don't have access to it yet. This is where we find the majority of those different features or functions and actually turning them on. So if we move from engine functions into motorsport functions, we'll find that we have similar kind of idea here. If we're taking a look at something like our launch control, right now this is set to the off status. So if we jump back into tuning, jump back into motorsport functions, we'll find that our launch control here isn't able to be clicked on, specifically right here, it's grayed out. All we can actually toggle on is traction control, which if we go back in here, that it actually is enabled right now, so we can see traction control is turned on. If I go to launch control right now, we can go here and turn this function on, click on, and then we'd have to go in and set all the details associated with this, but if we click OK and we jump back into tuning and we jump back into motorsport functions, we find launch control RPM is able to be edited and worked with at this point. So part of the output setup and control is understanding if we want something to actually be enabled in the software, chances are we're going to be finding it in, if we drop down here is not going to allow us to select it, we're going to have to go into the config and set it up here in our actual functions output setup, again in our engine functions, motorsport functions, or timer functions area. Now, what we'll find here is we're left with three other tabs that we can start to work with. So these are going to be vehicle function 1, vehicle function 2, and then all the way over here, user functions. Now, vehicle function 1 and 2, these are designating output control. So these are basic output controls that are configure, the channels are labeled already. We just need to fill in the blanks of where. Thanks for checking out our teaser clip. If you want to see the rest of this video and more than 500 hours of current EFI training we have to offer, make sure you click right here. If you want to go and check out more teaser clips from this training course, click here, and you don't want to miss any of the videos we're going to be releasing on this channel, so make sure you subscribe and click here. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later.